All right, so let's shift our gears now to Ardrey Kell. There was a press conference from the NAACP this morning. Give me a second to pull up a little bit of information on this. But again, NAACP here in Charlotte held a press conference about a fight that happened. And again, this is what happens here on Live Impact News. Sometimes I don't have information, but I'll tell you that as I work to get that information so I can give you the correct information here on air. So, all right, let me read it to you. The controversy continues regarding two Ardrey Kell High School students. The investigation by law enforcement found the fight between the two not a hate crime, but the Charlotte NAACP says some are still pushing this narrative, attacking a black student, while others say they're sticking up for what is right. Now, we've been reporting on this story extensively. WCNC Charlotte's Austin Walker was at that press conference this morning, and we want to bring you that press conference in its entirety right now. Let's take a listen in.
Good morning. I am Reverend Corinne Mack, President of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg NAACP, and I would like to have been here to talk about the almost 7,000 voters who may have their vote purged. I would also love to be here to talk about the harms that are being done to all people in the United States, specifically here in the North Carolina area, around some of the changes in policies. I would love to be here to talk about educational inequity, but instead I'm here to really deal with one specific incident that happened on March 7th at Ardrey Kell High School. Unfortunately, there has been a slew of misinformation and, quite frankly, inflammatory statements made by Jabril Ho. Jabril Ho, who is a white man who we as black leaders have given a platform for years. I want you to know the facts as I know it. On March 13th, I received an email from the young black male student involved in the incident. And that email pretty much told me their position on what happened, but more importantly, asked for our help because the family was receiving death threats and their home had been vandalized. So much so that CMPD had to have some serious seating or driving through the community to ensure their safety. On March 14th, I reached out to Jabril Ho because, as I said, we had given him a platform and invited him to many of our events over the course of the years, as far back as the Jonathan Farrell shooting. And I, along with B.J. Murphy, asked Mr. Ho to stop with the inflammatory statements, to allow both CMPD and the FBI to finish their investigations, and that we all should abide by that investigation. In that conversation, he said that he would, and I asked him also to please, as he's been writing social media posts every day, to put something up on social media asking all of the Muslim community to cease and desist in harassing and threatening this family. That was the only conversation we've had with Mr. Jabril. That conversation also included me requesting we have a sit-down with both the Arab community, the Black Muslim community, and myself to figure out how we could resolve the problems and really be the mediators in conflict resolutions around this issue. In that conversation, I also told him I was deeply concerned for both students. We're talking about two 15-year-old children. And as a woman, of course, I was concerned about the young girl. Let me make very clear that there is no person on this planet more unprotected than a black woman. So for me to hear the recent inflammatory statements, inferring that the black community or the black leaders in some way was defending the black boy is simply not true. I want to go a little further, because Jabril Ho was made aware on the day he did the first press conference that the CMPD report stated that the young girl was the person who was the aggressor. That had never been said in any of his statements. And I said to him, Jabril, you know it because I was told you were told on the day of the first press conference. So why haven't you said that? That's problematic for me. I want everyone to be reminded that we are living in a country in 2025 that has real racial divide. On a daily basis, we're hearing about racial attacks, racial epithets, slurs, undermining of black people all over the country. Unfortunately, we're hearing about a lot of violence. And I want everyone to remember the level of violence that black people have dealt with for centuries. So for any group to say that the NAACP in any way would decide to take any particular side is absolutely ridiculous. This organization was founded in 1909, and we have supported all people. Our mission is to elevate all people. And I want you to know that my leadership here in the Charlotte area since 2014 has always been about all people. I walk in the spirit of love. There are white women, in fact, a white woman who was a firefighter that we advocated for. In fact, she won millions of dollars in her lawsuit. We have supported Asian, Pacific Asians, Arabs, Black, Latino, and all in between. LGBTQIA, any person whose rights has been violated, we are there for them. So, I was deeply disturbed to hear those inflammatory statements because I want you to be clear about what's happening now. Every statement that has been made intentionally, and those statements are causing a racial divide between the Black and Arab community, something we do not need. This organization has nothing but love. I want to be clear about that. I want to also talk about, and forgive me for having to look at my notes, when you turn 67 years old, you'll get it. I'm having real senior moments. And so I want to talk about those who've been engaged in this level of misinformation. From what I saw in the particular press conference, it seems like these are all people who have a personal issue with CMS. And that's their personal right. It's their First Amendment right. But I want us to remember that we're talking about two 15-year-old children. And our responsibility is as the mature adults is to ensure that we love on both families, that we pray for both families, and that we wait to see how we can help both families. That is what I've been saying from day one, and that is what I'm saying today. In closing, before I let others speak, this climate of white supremacy has really exposed the heart and spirit of so many people, people that I used to respect. And it broke my heart to see someone that we worked with over 10 years play this serious game of hate mongering, because that's exactly what it is. There is no black or white child in our hearts in the NAACP. It's about all children. All children. And we are the adults, and I hope that people understand who hear my voice that leadership matters. The truth matters. And the misinformation that we've been hearing over the course of the last 2 weeks must cease and desist, because this organization will not allow anyone to slander us. Let me make that clear. We won't allow anyone to slander us. I now yield to Mr. B.J. Murphy.
My name is B.J. Murphy. I represent B.J. Murphy Media. I want to read my statements, and I'll be very, very brief. First, to the young lady who sustained the injuries in the Ardrey Kell fight, We are hoping for a full recovery of your injuries. It was disturbing to see the pictures of the injuries you sustained in this fight, and I want to be clear that we do not in any way condone violence against women. As Muslims, as I'm a part of the Muslim community here in Charlotte-Mecklenburg, the safety of our women and young girls is paramount in our culture of Islam. So you have to understand the magnitude of what happened when you see a young girl in that condition. It riles up the men in our culture to definitely speak out to defend women. We understand that and we get that. We have been striving to be mediators to keep balance behind the scenes and telling the truth of what we know unfolded. None of us were there. So as the Holy Quran says, which is the book of scriptures for the Muslims, it says, when a person brings you news, look carefully into it, lest you harm a people and be sorry for what you did. Jibril's labeling of this as Islamophobic, as a hate crime, and stating on several occasions that the 15-year-old girl could have been severely injured or killed if the boy had continued to beat her, which is absolutely a false narrative that's coming out of his statements but not actual fact. So these statements are incorrect, and this is the issue that we have with Jibril. So this caused people, and we don't know what community it came from, but it did cause people to threaten the family with physical violence, harassing phone calls, and social media threats, and even some vandalism to the family's home. This is when we got involved, Ms. Mack and myself. So a few weeks ago, we contacted Jibril by phone to let him know that his choice of words were inciting people. And I said, Jibril, you're not speaking facts. So we said to him, let the investigation sort out the facts, because we are hearing that it's not a hate crime, it's neither Islamophobia, it was a fight between 15-year-olds that escalated and got out of hand. So up to this point today at this press conference, there's only been one narrative in the public space, and that is from Jibril. And we're saying to Jibril, this is not a hate crime. It is not Islamophobia. We're asking him to stop pushing this narrative and work to heal the conflict between these two families. And this resolution and this reconciliation is called atonement. As leaders, we should be working to heal and not incite. So everybody in this case, the young girl and the young boy, they deserve justice. So in closing, I'll quote another scripture from the Holy Quran. And it says, we are commanded like this. It says, O you who believe, be maintainers of justice, bearers of witness for Allah, even though it be against our own selves, or your parents, or near relatives, whether rich or poor. Justice is what we are commanded to uphold. So if you love Almighty God and love the truth above all, then we got to stand up for what's right, regardless of the consequences. Truth is never to be sacrificed, and truth should not be left on the ground when it doesn't turn out in your favor. Because whatever the truth is good. So I'll close with this. We're asking that not part of the video be released, but the whole video must be released. We should not be in the business as leaders in this community, which Jibril says he's one of them. We should not be in the business of piecemealing the truth to fit our narrative. We are not running away from the truth, we're running to the truth. Justice for both the 15-year-old girl and justice for the 15-year-old boy. That's all we're asking for. So justice, let me give you a definition of justice as I conclude. Justice is even-handedness, impartiality, objectivity. It's a lack of bias, a lack of prejudice. It's the principle of fair dealing. So everybody in this community deserves to know the truth from the beginning of that incident to the conclusion of what happened to her when we saw the horrific pictures of this girl. And just to emphasize it one more time, as Muslims or any man that respects females, we do not condone what happened to her. We want to be clear so the message won't be misconstrued that we're up here defending violence against women. That is not what we're saying. We're saying bring the whole truth out, and whatever comes out, let it be, and then let's see if we can be the type of community that can work to heal a situation like that, because something beautiful could come out of this. Thank you.
I bring you now Cass Otley.
Good morning, everyone. I know, 'cause I'm short.
Thank you.
Bring it down. Thank you. Hi, my name is Cass Otley. I'm an activist, and I'm also an organizer here in the city of Charlotte. I've organized several events, from anything from Black Lives Matter to fighting for workers' rights, for fighting against police brutality. I've known Jabril for 10 years. I, too, met him during the Jonathan Ferrell case. I came out to Ardrey Kell at the first press conference because I wanted to know what was going on. And while I was out there, I was disturbed when a reporter went up to Jabril, and while he was speaking, after he finished speaking, told him that the police report stated that the young lady was the aggressor and that she was the one who hit the young man first. I was surprised to find out that information, but I was the only one that seemed surprised to find out that information because he already knew. So I personally feel as activists, as leaders, as organizers, we have an obligation to tell the public the truth. We can't tell people the pieces that, we want to tell them. And if things change during the progress of what's going on, you have an obligation to do that too. In several different reports, press conferences, the narrative has changed. While we were out at Ardrey Kell, it was mentioned that the young lady didn't say anything to the young man. She was sitting in class. He got up. He started calling her all sorts of racial slurs and jumped on her and started beating her. After I had talked to Jabril and said, "You're not telling the truth," he made a second interview in his home where he's sitting down, and he says, "I cannot confirm or deny whether the young lady hit the young man first, but if someone hit me, I wouldn't beat them half to death." Now, the new narrative from the press conference that was out here is that the young man was bothering another student, and now this young lady got up to defend that student. So while they're talking about inconsistencies, there's been several. They mentioned at the first press conference that the young lady was also suspended for 10 days. At the last press conference, they said she wasn't suspended until after the first press conference. They said that the ambulance took an hour to get there. Then they said the parents, they told WSOC-TV or WBTV that the parents took the young lady there. And what I'm trying to say is when you tell a lie, you have to continue to tell lies to cover up the first lie. And the problem with when you tell a lie is everything you say after that is suspect. If I seem agitated, I'm highly upset because I have always heard from my people. I would never, ever condone violence against anyone, especially the young lady. But what we're not going to do is vilify a young man that was involved in a fight. They have called this young man some of everything under the sun. They don't know him and they don't know his family, and I think it's unfair. And then to say that we, the activists, by our stance of standing behind this young man and asking for fairness, are now condoning violence is hateful speech. And there's nothing, it's baseless. And to say that about people, but then you want to sit there and talk about, all these inconsistencies and what the family said. We all waited. We could have did a press conference anytime we wanted to. We waited until the whole investigation. Jabril Huff is the one who asked for the FBI to be involved. In his interview, he said that he knew that they were going to do a great investigation, and he pushed for that in numerous interviews. So now that the interview is done and it's concluded and the investigation is concluded, and it didn't turn out the way he did, so now the police aren't doing their job, the FBI didn't do their job, all of us hate the Muslim community, which is not the truth. And for him to say that and call himself a leader and an activist in Charlotte or anywhere else is a problem. Because it is so division. I won't even tell you how many phone calls I've gotten from people that, were upset. And all of these people that are stepping up, we don't know if they know the real truth or if they're just following what Mr. Huff is saying. But there has to be some accountability. And so all we're saying is we want the truth to be out, the whole truth. We want the whole entire tape to be released. We want her background to be released, just as well as they're asking for his. And the other thing is, we want this girl to heal. We want her to heal. We want her to be well, but we also want this young man to be well. Because at the end of the day, we are talking about two 15-year-old children that both made a mistake and got into a fight that went entirely too far. But to vilify a young man and try to ride his back to try to sue CMS is a problem. And Jabril needs to stand back. He needs to maybe rethink things, but our relationship, as far as I'm concerned, is over. Thank you.
In closing, we would hope that all adults in the city of Charlotte and in the county of Mecklenburg would stand with us for peace and healing for both families, and help in any way we can in CMS to ensure that another child doesn't go through what these two children are going through right now. CMS can't do it by themselves. It is a system that has had problems over the course of the last 15 to 17 years that I know of. The superintendent, Crystal Hill, is doing the best she can to create new, innovative ways to ensure that the children are safe, but we, children and community, have a responsibility as well.
And you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. Right there, that was a press conference from the NAACP of Charlotte-Mecklenburg County at Ardrey Kell High School. That's after a fight amongst two students that happened. That has been a story that we've been following. To check out more on this story, head over to our website, WCNC.com.